If you love Paul Harvey-style stories, subscribe now.
The rest of the story in the courtroom that January morning, Daniel sat unflinching, his hands clasped on the table before him. The air was heavy, thick with the murmurs of journalists and spectators who had gathered to witness what some called a reckoning and others a farce. "This is not justice," Daniel declared as he rose to address the court. His voice, deep and unwavering, carried across the room. "This is persecution, plain and simple." The judge, a man known for his stern demeanor, adjusted his glasses and looked at Daniel with measured patience. "Mr. Daniels," he said, "you will have your turn." Daniel sat back down, muttering something about witch hunts and political charades. For a moment his eyes flicked toward the gallery where familiar faces from his past blended with strangers who had come to gawk. For Daniel, this was not the first time he had faced adversity. In fact, his entire life had been a series of battles against critics, against competitors, and often against himself. Long before the courtroom dramas, the towering skyscrapers, and the thunderous applause of his supporters, Daniel was simply a boy growing up in a bustling city. His father, a builder of modest means but grand ambition, had taught him one lesson above all: never back down. "You don't lose until you quit," his father used to say. And Daniel never did. As a young man, he threw himself into the family business, working tirelessly to expand it into something far greater than anyone had imagined. Deals were struck, fortunes were made, and soon Daniel became a figure of fascination, a symbol of brash confidence and relentless drive. But success brought scrutiny, and scrutiny brought enemies. "There's always someone waiting to tear you down," Daniel once confided to an aide. And tear him down they did. Or at least they tried. The whispers began in the 1990s, growing louder with each passing decade. Business deals were questioned, personal indiscretions splashed across tabloids. Some called him a genius, others a fraud. But no matter how loud the criticism grew, Daniel seemed impervious. "It's just noise," he would say with a dismissive wave of his hand. "They talk because they can't do what I do." Still, even Daniel couldn't have anticipated the storm that would come after he made the boldest gamble of his life, stepping into the political arena. "Why would you do it?" his closest confidant asked him one evening as they sat in a gilded office overlooking the city. Daniel leaned back in his chair, a smirk tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Because I can." And for a time it seemed he could do anything. The rallies, the speeches, the debates. It was as if the spotlight had been made for him. Yet the higher he climbed, the fiercer the opposition became. Which brings us back to that January morning in court. "This trial is nothing but a sham," Daniel proclaimed, his voice rising once more. "An insult to justice and to the people who believe in me." The judge sighed, tapping his gavel lightly. "Mr. Daniels, the court has heard your objections. Please sit down." The sentence was handed down moments later: unconditional discharge. It wasn't victory, but it wasn't defeat either. And Daniel, ever the showman, couldn't resist turning to the cameras as he exited the courtroom. "They wanted to see me fall," he said, flashing a defiant smile. "But I'm still standing. Of course you know Daniel by another name, Donald J. Trump. And now you know the rest of the story."